Hey yo, what's up? This is Xavier. Welcome to the channel. Today we're gonna be doing some reviews of the Best Picture nominees, and also I'm gonna do my Oscar picks. So I'm gonna start with the review, and then eventually I'm gonna do my Oscar picks. And a little disclaimer before I start: I did not watch all the nominated material. So some categories in my picks, I'm going to skip them completely, and others I may watch like some of the movies, but not all of them. Like some of the actors in which all that movies and whatever. Which also relates to the title. I'm not sure what title I'm gonna pick, but it's gonna relate. It's gonna allude to me not watching all the Best Picture nominees. I'm making a movie about reviewing the Best Picture nominees. But I decided, yeah, roll with it. I didn't finish that movie, but I'm not gonna let it affect it. It's gonna make it more interesting. Yeah, I'm eventually gonna finish the movie. But I just wanted to put this video up before that to give it a little edge, a little something, Yeah. Women Talking is not available where I am. And also, Avatar: The Way of Water, I should have watched it, but I have not been able to just have it, to sum it up. So, and then also to explain the half thing, Tar, the film with Kate Blanchett, I started watching it and I reached like roughly halfway through it, but at the time I was watching it, I couldn't finish it, and then stuff got in the way, and then I'm thinking like, should I finish it? And I was like, no. But I'm just gonna I'm gonna be using 3 factors to speak about these movies. Gonna be story. It's gonna be the acting, and then third, the experience. Okay? Noted. Let's start. So let's jump into the reviews of the films that I did see. And we're going to go by how they're listed on the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science website for the nominations. Right. First up is All Quiet on the Western Front. And this movie is a remake of a 1930 movie that won the Best Picture for that Oscar. It was the 3rd Oscars. And so this is a remake of that movie. Well, it's not a real remake. It's just a different adaptation of the source material, which is a 1929 novel of the same name. And so, judging it by the story, All Quiet on the Western Front is not a complex story. It's not a complex story, but it's simple because it's basically a story about Paul. This like 17-year-old. He is indoctrinated with the propaganda of the war that Germany is waging, and it's World War I time in 1917, and he and 3 other friends, his childhood, I don't know if they're childhood friends or not, but they're basically the same age as him. He defies his parents, he joins up, and then he's rudely awakened to what war is. It's not like the songs, the heroic songs, and the propaganda that he's being fed. It's different. It's disturbing. It's awful. It's life and death. It's fatal. And so, what we have here is a story about that. We jump from Paul and his friends' experience. He makes friends along the way. They're experienced in that that final year of the war, the Great War, and also how the negotiations for the end of that war goes. So we're jumping between that and that, and so it's basically not a complex story, but it really hit. And so it's not just solely down to the acting, which I'm gonna say the acting was phenomenal. Everyone sold. Everyone did their best. There were not every performance was great because not everyone was called upon to give a great performance. It's like a big cast. You're dealing with like tons of extras because like you film war scenes and everything like that. And then like some characters like only they have like minor roles, and so they're not given much to do. But like the main cast, they killed it. Maybe a portrait's worth there, but they did. So kudos to them. Acting was phenomenal for the most part, and the experience, it was awful, but awful in a good way. In that the film made you feel things. The film made you feel anger. It made you feel sadness. It made you feel haunted. You know. So that's just a testament to how epic a film it is, because like cinematography, the sound, the score, everything puts you in that zone where this tension, the suspense, you feel it, and then you eventually you form bonds with these characters because they do things and you feel it for them. You want them to survive, you know. And then if anybody's lost, you are hurt by it, and so it's just an overall brilliant film, and it's like one of my top 3 contenders for Best Picture. Next up, it's Banshees of Inisherin. Okay, so the Banshees of Inisherin is a Martin McDonagh movie that stars Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Barry Keoghan, and Kerry Condon. And it's a story about the breaking up of a friendship, and it makes you realize these people love each other, and there's like a thin line between love and hate. Not to spoil anything, because I'm not trying to spoil it, but you make you realize these people are like on an island. They're away from everything. They're like, it's just basically like a community, and so they just live a simple life, and it's not high stakes, you know, but they're deeply affected by what's happening to them. Their emotions are out of check, and they go to extremes to prove how committed they are to whatever goal they set or and all that. And it's like somebody trying to prove how this one's different or whatever, and it's a brilliant story. I really love the story. It just shows you that the screenplay is brilliant. The words, it's funny. It's you could classify it as kind of like a comedy, and so kudos to Martin. The jokes hit. I'll give you that, and so love that, and include that in the story. The jokes hit, and just a wonderful telling of friendship and how friendship breakups really hurt, and that is paid. It's really highlighted, let me use that word instead, by how Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson show up. You could tell how close they used to be, and how the situation is hurting both of them, and in their moments together, you can tell that they still that the feelings are still there, but for the reasons explained in the film, it has to be this way, and you just want them to be good again, but that's not the point of the film. But not the spoiling thing, cause am I saying the spoiler everything? Whatever. But it truly is a nice chemistry to have. Yeah, chemistry. And we saw that when the only film I think the only film they've also been in together was In Bruges, which was a brilliant film. Oh my, I really love that movie. In Bruges, watch it. And basically that chemistry that I had there is here and killed it. Experience, I really like the shots, the cinematography, the music was cool, everything like that, but it wasn't like an amazing experience. I'll tell you that right now. It was a really good, well done movie. I was engrossed, but it didn't captivate me like that. I was captivated, but not get the full 100, isn't it? You know, get the full 100 out of me, so yeah. Okay, so Elvis is basically a biopic that shows Austin Butler playing Elvis Presley. It gives us a true line from him being a child to, just starting out, and then eventually to his death. And we follow his story on the way. You see Tom Hanks playing Tom Baker, and they're the two main leads in this film. Yeah, it's basically Tom Hanks and Austin Butler who are the drivers of this film. And we see Tom Hanks, his character, he signs up Elvis Presley, and their story unfolds from there. I like the points they hit. I feel they could have explored a bit more in some aspects of his life that were kind of unsavory, like that. How he was with the age with Priscilla, but they mentioned it, but they kind of glossed over it, and I think that's how the world glossed over it too. So it's basically a biopic story. So you can have nitpicks or what was in or what was left out, but I felt that they showed enough to give you an idea of the impact that Elvis had and what he went through in life. So yeah, I gave it a good summation of it. So summarization. So I can't knock it for that. Austin Butler really did well as Elvis. That man sold it. The accent, the way he talked, everything. I don't know. I have no comparison for the character Tom Hanks was playing. His accent was a little bit wonky, but it makes sense when you find out the background of his character. So I'm giving it a pass, but Austin Butler was really who sold for this movie. Because I'm gonna lie, some of the background actors, they weren't amazing. No one of these Best Picture films, and the actor was bad or anything like that. But it was really an Austin Butler show, and he was the main focus, and he's the one who carried the movie. If you're gonna give anyone any nomination, because I think he was the only one who got nomination for acting for this film, and it makes sense because he embodied Elvis, and so he is basically the best actor of this movie. And Tom Hanks is a great actor, but Austin Butler, he was Elvis, and so it was a good experience. I really enjoyed it. It was a good watch. I really liked it. I felt nice I it was like good vibes, but it wasn't 10 out of 10 for me. I'll give it like an 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10 for like the whole experiences, cinematography, the editing, all that, music, everything combined really well. But it didn't capture me. Yeah, did not capture me. What can I say about this movie? What can I say about this movie? 10s across the board. Story, acting, and experience. It's sold across every category. This is one of my top 3 for Best Picture. Just watch my reaction video for this and you will see how I really felt about it. There's not much more I can say. I said it all there. I'm just gonna repeat basically that it's a beautiful piece of filmmaking. Beautiful piece, great story, great acting, amazing experience. It's just a story about life and how we live it, what we choose to do with it, the choices we make along the way, how those choices affect us, regret, feeling of inadequacies, and just family and love. Yeah, it's all about that, and it has characters who are multiversal. It's a multiverse of madness, and it's done well. They use that little thing about the multiversal aspect really well, and so it wasn't gimmicky or anything like that. It was really done well, and so it's an amazing film. Simple. Okay, so The Fabelmans is basically like a semi-biographical film about Steven Spielberg's life. It's him, this character, we see him as a child, we see him as a teenager, and then we see him as a young adult at the end. And it's basically like how his life is affected by the relationship of his parents and how his love of filmmaking is impacted by that, and how filmmaking ruins his life but also saves his life. Not saves his life, it gives him life, it gives him reason, but it also allows him pain. And so it's a really nice story. It got a bit how can I say this? It got a bit okay at the end. It was good for the most part, and then kind of trailed off near the end. Not to say that the end was bad or anything like that, but it was, maybe I got good 2/3 of it. It kind of petered out a little. Not that that ruined the movie, but the story trailed off, and so I can't give the story a high marks there. It was not transcendent. It was good. Yeah, I was able to follow it. It has a bit of complexity thrown in there, but I don't know. It never hit me easily. But the acting was fine. But I don't really think anyone gave like outstanding performance in this. I know Michelle Williams got a nomination, but I don't know. It was just good acting, and so it was just basically an okay experience. It was a good film though. It was a good film. I can see why it was nominated. I do not have any problems with it being nominated, but this is a movie like you could watch it and you'd feel good. Not feel good. You'd feel good about your decision to watch it, but it's not gonna blow you away. Let me give you that much. I'll tell you that it's not gonna blow you away. So this is not. I would really be upset if this won anything. Not if this won like a best picture and that. No. Nah. Okay, so this is the sequel to the 1986 movie, and it delivered a great sequel. Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise, a movie star, an action star, and the sound, the experience. That was the real winner for this movie. The experience. That was a 10 out of 10 category. 11 out of 10, 12 out of 10 actually. A brilliant experience. I didn't see it in the theaters. I really should have, because I just know it would have been amazing in the theaters. The acting, it was okay. The story didn't call. It was a very, very simple story. So they just Tom Cruise is back to teach a Top Gun, and they have to blow up something, and then they have to train people to do it, and then bada bing bada boom, and there's like a love story. But no, good screen. It was a good story, but it's very simple. I wouldn't give it any awards for story. I could get nominated for story, for screenplay, all that, but no, acting is good, serviceable. I believe the characters, but yeah, this movie was all about experience. The sound, the cinematography, the visual effects. It's a spectacle. It is a joy. I really loved watching this. If you liked the original Top Gun, this is that plus more. It's beautiful. It's enrapturing. It's captivating. It's magnificent. It's an experience. It's a joy. You feel good watching it. You are engrossed. You feel it. It's like you are flying with them. Beautiful film. Loved it. Great experience. And yeah, what can I say? Amazing sequel. Sold on it. Okay, so the final one we're going to talk about is Triangle of Sadness. Not gonna lie, this was just good. The Dolly DeLeon, I think that's her name. I'm gonna say if I got it wrong or anything in somewhere whatever. But she was a star, but she was not a star. She was like a source actor. And she was the only outstanding acting performance in this film. Everyone else was good. I have no problem with this. Woody Harrison showed up, he did his thing. Everyone else showed up, they did their thing. But she was the only one she was basically like Austin Butler in ELVIS as the lead, but she was like a supporting character, and she was a supporting character in this movie, but she was the star of this movie, to be honest. And it was basically, it's Triangle of Sadness. It's a commentary on classism and rich people and capitalism and excesses, and how when it comes down to it, we're all the same. Basically, like as seen described as basically like something is kind of like let me not be disrespectful, but it's like a lesser version of Parasite. So no, this should not win anything. When I say anything, I mean Best Picture. It should not win Best Picture. It's a good movie, but it's not as good as Parasite. And it's kind of like Parasite Light, and that's not enough to overtake any of these other movies here. Let me tell you that right now. It's just okay, good experience, good acting, good story, The story is the best part of it. I can see what they're trying to do, but nah, for me, nah. This is not. This is no way it should do in this picture. No way. Okay, so we're on to nominations now, and first up is Best Actor. Okay, so the nominations for actor in the leading role are Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell, Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser in The Whale, Paul Mescal in After Sun, and Bill Nighy Living. So, truth be told, I have not watched The Whale, After Sun, or Living, but I know Brendan Fraser is getting a lot of buzz in this. I know Colin Farrell got a buzz. I know Austin Butler's got buzz. So they're my top 3 contenders for this, but I'm gonna give it to the win to Austin Butler for Elvis. You could say Brendan Fraser. You could narrow it down to Brendan Fraser and Austin Butler, but I figure the biopic aspect is gonna win out over Brendan Fraser's return to Hollywood. You know, those voters really love a biopic portrayal that's done well. But I would not be surprised if Brendan Fraser won this, because his return has been triumphant, and so if he wins, I'd be happy for him to win. But I'm gonna give it to Austin Butler. Okay, so the nominations for Best Actress in a Leading Role are Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas, Blonde, Andrea Riseborough to Leslie, Michelle Williams, The Fabelmans, and Michelle Yeoh. I think I pronounced her name wrong too in the record, but in Everything Everywhere All at Once. I really should get to know how to pronounce her name.
Michelle Yeoh.
Right, so Michelle Yeoh or Cate Blanchett. Those are the 2 contenders for me. Even though I only watched half of Tar, Cate Blanchett is amazing. She is good. She's so good. And I would not be surprised if she won. But Michelle has just been winning everything everywhere all at once has been just racking up the awards. It's been in awards for Best Picture, Best Director. It's been in acting categories. It's been in all of sorts of categories throughout this film award season, and so I'm giving Michelle the win. Cate will be our award winner also, and so I would not be surprised if Cate won, but I'm thinking Michelle is gonna win this one. Okay, so the nominations for cinematography are All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Fruits. I did not watch that movie. Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. So I've only seen All Quiet, Elvis, and Tar from these nominations, but based on what I've been seeing, All Quiet on the Western Front is gonna win this one for me. But I would not be surprised if Elvis also wins it. Mandy Walker for Elvis. It's been getting buzz too, but it's really between All Quiet on the Western Front and Elvis. Me, I think Elvis might win it, but I'm gonna give it to All Quiet on the Western Front because I understand who. It just the cinematography for All Quiet just popped more for me, so I'm just that's why I'm gonna give it, because it's between those 2, Elvis and All Quiet on the Western Front. But All Quiet just really sold for me in that aspect more than Elvis. As I can see why Elvis would win, but for me, it's All Quiet. Okay, so the nominations for production design are All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fabelmans. Yeah, I'm thinking it's gonna be Avatar: The Way of Water here. Just because that is a beautiful film. I never watched it, but I know it's a beautiful film. just from what I've seen, James Cameron and his work, just great it's just great environment, beautiful environment, feels amazing, and I could tell that just from trailers and all that, and I just know it's gonna win. Yeah, Avatar: The Way of Water, that's gonna win basically. Okay, so my feelings here are that it could be Elvis, Avatar, or Babylon. No, I have not watched Babylon, but it's been getting a lot of buzz. It's won a few of the specific awards, so I feel it could win. Yeah, so to be safe, I'm gonna pick Babylon. But oof, it's kind of tricky. You know what? I'm gonna pick Elvis to win, but I would not be surprised if Babylon wins this one. Watch out for that one. Okay, so the nominations for adapted screenplay are All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery, Living, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking. Based on film awards, I'm gonna say Women Talking is winning this one. I've not seen the movie, like I said, but the buzz is telling me that Women Talking is gonna win it, and so I'm gonna stick my neck out here. Women Talking is gonna win this one. Okay, so the nominations for sound are All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Elvis, and Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick is winning this. The jet sounds were amazing. The vibration, the mixing, the sound mixing and sound editing. I know what each are. I can't figure it out right now, but I put a explainer somewhere. But the sound, beautiful. Top Gun Maverick, winner. I would not be surprised if All Quiet on the Western Front won though. Just to put it out there, but for me, it's Top Gun Maverick. Okay, so the nominations for original screenplay are The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. Tar, Triangle of Sadness, no. The Fabelmans, no. It's between The Banshees of Inisherin and Everything Everywhere All at Once. Oh, this is tricky. Cause, if those are like, oh wait, they're both comedies. From what I know, this has been and Everything Everywhere All at Once juggernaut on Film Awards season. So Banshees is close, but I'm gonna give the win here to Everything Everywhere All at Once for Best Original Screenplay. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to that. It's a better story. Okay, wait, that's not a better story. It's a different story. It's a more intriguing story. It gives you a lot more than the Banshees. The Banshees is a very, very good story. Very good jokes, lands, what it does to you. It brings you along, the twists and turns and all that. But Everything Everywhere All at Once does that too. And better. So it wins. Okay, so the nominations for film editing are The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick. So the two contenders for this are Top Gun Maverick and Everything Everywhere All at Once, based on the award season that's been going. It's between those two, but I'm predicting and Everything Everywhere All at Once win here also, cause it really has a lot more to do. So I'm thinking the voters are gonna say the more editing it had to do is the better the editing was, because all the cuts and everything, it did not detract from the movie, it enhanced the movie. So, not that the editing in Top Gun Maverick detracted, it also enhanced, but I feel it was more impactful in Everything Everywhere at Once, and so I have to give it the win for that one. Okay, so we have back-to-back music categories coming up. Original score, All Quiet on the Western Front, Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fabelmans. So I've not seen Babylon, but I know out of all of these, the score is more impactful with All Quiet on the Western Front, because that I think they call it like a Zeppelin, like the sound that they play, the music that they're playing when things are, you know what it means. It just means be prepared. And the score, it builds the tension well, and it pulls you into the movie. And so I just have to give it to the win for All Quiet on the Western Front. That score was beautiful and terrifying. Okay, so the nominations for original song are Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, Hold My Hand, Top Gun Maverick, Lift Me Up from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Natu Natu from RRR, and This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I've heard these songs a few times. This is a crapshoot, to be honest. So I'm just basically picking which one is gonna vibe, I think, more. And I think the upbeat nature of Natu Natu is gonna win out. Yeah, just a guess for that. Basically, this is just a guess. But Natu Natu. Oh, so another thing where we are back to the actors. So supporting role actors. Brendan Gleeson, The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry Causeway, Judd Hirsch, The Fablemans, Barry Keoghan, The Banshees of Inisherin, Ki Hyo Kwan in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Causeway, I didn't see that movie, so Brian, I'm sorry, my brother, but I don't know. Brendan Gleeson, he did well in The Banshees, but Judd Hirsch, a small impactful performance, but Barry, a well done performance, small, but yeah, but Key, you're winning this. You're getting this award. He's my winner here. Ki Hyo Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And the supporting actress category, Angela Bassett, Hong Chaw, Kerry Condon, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Stephanie Sue. This is basically coming down to 3 people for me: Angela Bassett, Stephanie Sue, and Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm thinking it's gonna be between. Ooh, this is real tricky too. Oh, God, I know I'm gonna get this wrong. Just know it. The votes might be split between Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie, and so Angela Bassett might win in that case. Jamie Lee Curtis has been winning mostly over the award season, so she's the favorite, and so I expect her to win. But I thought Stephanie gave the best performance in this category, and so I want her to win. I'm feeling it's gonna be Jamie Lee Curtis, but Stephanie, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and predict an upset, and that Stephanie wins. Yeah. Okay, so this visual effects category, and let's go. You know what? All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun: Maverick. Avatar: The Way of Water is gonna win this. I don't really need to say anymore. Did you see what they're doing? Did you see what they're doing with this movie? It's winning. Trust me, it's winning. Okay, so the costume design Oscar, Ruth Carter did win for the original Black Panther. Oops, my bad. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Babylon, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. I did not watch that movie. Who watched that movie? Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't think that's gonna win here. Elvis, the period piece, Fates Were Fire. Black Panther. I don't really think it pushed the boat as much as the first film did. So, yeah, they did well, but I don't think it's gonna win. I think Elvis is gonna win this category. Elvis for costume design. Okay, so for makeup and hairstyling, we had All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale. I'm thinking it's between Elvis and The Whale. And I'm gonna give the... Ooh, this is tricky because Brendan Fraser makeup is really impactful for The Whale. So you think he's gonna win? Well, I think Elvis is gonna win this one. Because it won in over the specific, what do you call it now, specialized awards. It won, so I'm gonna see that Elvis wins this one. Okay, so this section I'm just gonna mention that these awards, I did not really watch any of these films in there. Best live action short film, best animated short film, best documentary short film, best documentary feature film, best animated feature film. I only watched Turning Red in this one, so I can't really give you a solid opinion on the category. And best international feature film, I only watched All Quiet on the Western Front on this, so but I feel confident about going out on a limb and picking that one to win this category. Yeah, I've only seen one movie in the category and I'm giving the win to that movie. And I said I wouldn't at the start, but I feel so confident. It's nominated for Best Picture. If it doesn't win this, then what's going on? Wait, I've seen that doesn't. I don't care. Best international feature film, All Quiet on the Western Front. Right, and so we're down to the final two categories we're gonna judge here: Best Director and Best Picture. We're doing Director first. The Banshees of Inisherin, Marty McDonough. Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Daniels, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert. The Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg. Tar, Todd Field. And Triangle of Sadness, Ruben Östlund. This is kind of tricky to predict, but based on award season, I know I've said that a lot, but based on award season, it's gonna be Everything Everywhere All at Once. The Daniels are gonna win this category, and that leads into who I'm gonna pick for Best Picture winner. I said it at the start, but I'm just gonna list the nominations, the nominees: All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. Women Talking, no buzz for this for a win. Triangle of Sadness, no buzz for a win. The Fabelmans has a little bit of buzz, but not enough for the win. Tar, no. It has a little bit of buzz too, but not enough for the win. Top Gun Maverick, no for that one. Avatar: The Way of Water? No. All Quiet on the Western Front? Ah. It have buzz. Everything Everywhere All at Once? Ah. It have buzz. The Banshees of Inisherin? It have buzz too. So my top 4 contenders, I think I'll name top 3 before Everything Everywhere All at Once. Sorry, top 5. My bad. The Fablemans, the 5 out of 10. The Fablemans, Elvis, The Banshees of Inisherin, All Quiet on the Western Front, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. My third place is a tie between The Fablemans, Elvis, and The Banshees of Inisherin. My top 2 are All Quiet on the Western Front and Everything Everywhere All at Once, for who I think will win it. But there is one clear number 1, the dominating force throughout all award season. I expect it to win. It's been very dominant. It has had competition from the movies I named as my third place tie and my number 2. But Everything Everywhere All at Once is my favorite, and the people's favorite is gonna win Best Picture. Everything Everywhere All at Once, Best Picture winner for the Oscars 2023 on March 12, 2023. Bucket sealed it, done. Right, and so I really hope you like this video. Hope you enjoyed it. It's kind of tricky to pick when you have not watched all the categories, but I figure, and so I made sure to ignore some of them. But I figure for some categories, I had enough information to know who was the buzz, who was getting buzz, who was winning awards, who was winning the various awards, who was winning like specialist awards from what I've seen, and who won them like the major awards. And so I feel mostly confident, and so I told you who the contenders were I felt, and so if my picks don't win, I'm pretty sure one of the contenders gonna win that I named. But I'm pretty confident in most of my picks. I'm like very confident in most of my picks, so we'll see what happens on Oscar Sunday. So those are my thoughts, those are my picks. Goodbye.